Jefferson High School in Ohio looked like every other American school. Rows of red brick walls, banners about football games, and a long hallway of lockers that stretched endlessly. But every student whispered about one particular locker. Locker 327. It was cursed. Emma Foster was new at Jefferson High. Her family had just moved from Chicago, and she wanted to start fresh. She was quiet but hopeful, thinking maybe the school would be different. On her first morning, the principal handed her a slip of paper. Locker assignment 327, it read. When she showed it to the janitor, Mr. Harris, his face drained of color. That can't be right. Emma frowned. Why not? He scratched his gray beard nervously. That locker, it doesn't stay closed. Kids avoid it for a reason. Emma forced a smile. It's just a locker, right? But something in his eyes told her it wasn't. When Emma reached her locker, the hallway was loud with chatter. No one paid attention to her until she slid the key in. A group of seniors stopped mid-conversation. One whispered, "She got that one." The locker door creaked open with a sharp metallic groan. Inside were deep scratches like fingernails dragged against steel. At the very back, barely visible under years of dust, were 4 words scratched into the metal. "Don't let me out." Emma swallowed hard. She laughed nervously and shoved her books inside. But when she closed the door, it immediately creaked back open. At first, Emma thought it was faulty hinges. But the next day, it happened again. She shut it hard, and still it slid open. By the 3rd day, things grew worse. As she bent down to tie her shoes, she swore she heard her name whispered from inside. "Emma!" She jumped back, staring at the locker. Her classmates walked past, not noticing. Her best attempt at ignoring it failed when she felt cold air rush out of the locker, brushing against her face like an icy breath. That afternoon, Emma worked up the courage to ask someone about the locker. She cornered Ryan, a senior who seemed friendly enough. Ryan's smile faded. "They gave you 327? Emma nodded nervously. "What's wrong with it?" He looked around before lowering his voice. 10 years ago, a boy named Tyler was shoved inside by bullies. They locked him in and left. But when they opened it again, he was gone. No body, just claw marks. The cops said he ran away. But everyone here knows better. Emma's blood ran cold. "So what happened to him?" Ryan shrugged. "No one knows. But every student who's ever had that locker disappears." That Friday, Emma stayed late for cheer practice. The halls were empty, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead. As she walked past her locker, the door creaked open on its own. Her breath caught in her throat. Inside, the darkness seemed deeper than it should have been. Then, a pale, bony hand shot out, fingers cracked, nails jagged and bloody. Emma screamed, stumbling backward. The hand retreated as quickly as it appeared. The locker door slammed shut with a metallic bang. She sprinted out of the building, heart pounding in her ears. That night, Emma dreamed of being trapped inside a box. Darkness pressed against her. She clawed at the walls until her nails split. When she woke up, her bedsheets were shredded, and her fingernails were chipped and bloody. Terrified, she begged the principal the next day. "Please, I need a new locker. 327 is..." He interrupted sharply. "You've been using locker 318. Emma froze. "No. I've been using 327. The principal slid the register across the desk. Next to locker 327, a name was written. Tyler Matthews. Emma felt the air leave her lungs. Monday after school, Emma tried to avoid the hallway, but as she passed, she saw her locker door standing wide open, waiting. She turned away, only to feel something cold grip her ankle. Looking down, she saw fingers curling out from the darkness inside, dragging her toward the open locker. She kicked, screaming, as the hallway echoed with metallic banging. Her classmates walked by, but none looked at her. None heard her cries. It was as if she didn't exist anymore. The last thing she saw before being pulled inside was Tyler's face, hollow-eyed, lips twisted into a grin. The next morning, Emma's seat in class was empty. Her friends asked about her, but teachers only shrugged. "Who's Emma?" they asked. "We don't have a student by that name." Her locker stood closed, pristine. Inside was her backpack neatly placed, as if waiting. But Emma herself was gone. Today, Jefferson High students still avoid locker 327. But sometimes, late at night, janitors hear banging from inside. If you lean close, you'll hear scratching. Sometimes whispers. Sometimes a voice calling your name. And if you're foolish enough to answer, the locker won't let you out. Because inside locker 327, Tyler isn't alone anymore. Jefferson High was an ordinary American school. Rows of classrooms, the smell of disinfectant mixed with stale cafeteria pizza, and hallways lined with fluorescent lights that always seemed to flicker. But hidden at the very end of the West Wing was a room students avoided. Room 6B. No one called it that, though. Everyone knew it as the detention room. Friday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. The final bell had rung, and students rushed out for the weekend. Everyone except Ethan Cole, a junior with a reputation for skipping class and running his mouth at teachers. When he mouthed off to Mr. Carson that morning, the history teacher slammed his grade book shut and said, "Enough, Cole. Detention. Room 6B." The class went quiet. A few kids exchanged uneasy looks. Ethan smirked, pretending not to notice. Now, with the halls empty and the sun dipping low, Ethan dragged his sneakers down the deserted corridor. His detention slip crinkled in his sweaty hand. The door to 6B stood at the far end, chipped paint and a frosted glass window. The words detention were stenciled on in peeling black letters. As Ethan pushed the door open, the hinges groaned like something waking from a long sleep. The room smelled of dust and mildew. Desks were stacked against the walls, leaving only a few scattered in the center. The blinds were half closed, letting in just enough light to cast long skeletal shadows. A clock ticked loudly above the chalkboard. But the strangest thing? The room was empty. No teacher. No other students. Just silence. Ethan muttered, "Great, babysitting myself." He slumped into a desk and pulled out his phone. No signal. He tried to laugh it off, scrolling through photos instead. That's when he noticed something odd. In the reflection of the black phone screen, behind him a figure was standing. Tall, still, shadowed. But when Ethan whipped around, the room was empty. Minutes passed. The clock ticked louder, each second dragging. Ethan drummed his fingers on the desk to drown it out. Then a sound. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Came from the chalkboard. Ethan slowly turned his head. No one was there, but the board now had 3 fresh claw marks carved into it. He stood, backing toward the door. When he grabbed the handle, it wouldn't budge. He twisted harder. Nothing. The door was locked. From the inside, his pulse quickened. Okay, someone's messing with me. But then the desks began to move. One by one, they scraped across the floor, circling him in the center of the room. The screeching sound made his teeth ache. The desks settled into place. Silence returned. And then came the whispers. Dozens of voices, hissing from every direction. "You shouldn't be here. He's still hungry. Another one joins us." Ethan clamped his hands over his ears, but the voices grew louder, clearer. Some were young, some old, some gasping like they were choking. One voice cut through them all, deep, hollow. Right behind him, "Sit down." At the back of the room, the shadows between the blinds seemed to grow thicker, darker, almost liquid. They stretched across the wall like black vines, twisting, writhing, taking form. And then eyes. Dozens of glowing, pale eyes opened in the darkness. Ethan stumbled backward, tripping over a desk. He scrambled to his feet, chest heaving. The shadows detached from the wall, pooling onto the floor like smoke turned solid. They crept toward him, dragging long, distorted fingers across the tiles. He bolted to the door, slamming his fists against it. "Help! Somebody!" No one answered. The shadows whispered again. "Stay, stay, stay forever." Just when Ethan thought he'd faint, he noticed movement in the far corner. A boy, maybe his age, sat hunched on the floor. His clothes were old-fashioned, a torn Jefferson High Letterman jacket from decades ago. His skin was pale, lips cracked, eyes wide and empty. Ethan's breath hitched. "Who are you?" The boy tilted his head slowly, like a broken doll. "They locked me in here too," he rasped. "They never let me leave." Ethan stepped closer, desperate. "How do I get out?" The boy's grin widened, too wide, stretching ear to ear. "You don't." The skin of his face split open like paper, and from inside, the shadows poured out, rushing across the room with a scream. Ethan fell to his knees, covering his face as the shadows swallowed the room. The whispers turned to shrieks. The desks rattled violently. The chalkboard split down the middle with a screech. And then, Silence. When Ethan opened his eyes, the room was calm again. But the clock was different. It no longer ticked forward. Instead, the hands spun backward, faster and faster until they blurred. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, only to find the screen filled with one message, repeating over and over. Stay. Hours later, Mr. Carson returned to check on detention. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room was empty. No Ethan. No backpack. Just silence. On the chalkboard, written in jagged white chalk, were two new words. Thank you. The next Monday, Ethan's desk in class was empty. Teachers acted like he'd never enrolled. His name vanished from attendance sheets. His friends swore they could barely remember his face. But late at night, if you pass room 6B, you can still hear him, banging on the door, screaming to be let out. And if you're unlucky enough to be sent to detention there, don't sit near the back. Because sometimes, if the blinds are drawn just right, you'll see Ethan's face watching you from the shadows, mouthing the same word over and over. Stay. Every school has its secrets. At Jefferson High, that secret lived beneath the gym. Most students never thought about it. The big double doors of the gym opened to polished hardwood floors, shiny basketball hoops, and trophy cases filled with decades of wins. But tucked in the back corner, behind the bleachers, was a locked metal door. No one used it. No one talked about it. Except in hushed whispers. They said it led to the basement. Friday night meant basketball at Jefferson High. The bleachers overflowed with cheering fans, the band blasting pep songs. But while the crowd focused on the court, for friends lingered in the shadows. Jake, Emily, Marcus, and Lily. Jake was the leader, always cocky and loud. Tonight's the night, he whispered. We're going in. Emily frowned, clutching her pom-poms. You're insane. They locked that door for a reason. Lily shivered. My brother told me a kid went missing down there years ago. Marcus smirked. Exactly. Which means it's perfect for a dare. The plan was simple. Slip away during halftime, break into the basement, film everything for TikTok. Scared, Jake teased. Emily rolled her eyes but followed. None of them wanted to be the one who chickened out. The gym echoed with squeaking sneakers and roaring cheers as the four slipped behind the bleachers. The metal door loomed before them. Rust streaked down its frame, the handle scarred with scratches. A padlock dangled, but Marcus pulled out bolt cutters from his backpack. With one sharp snap, the lock clattered to the floor. The door creaked open, releasing a breath of stale, icy air that smelled of rot and mildew. Ladies first, Jake joked, shining his phone flashlight inside. The narrow staircase descended into darkness. The concrete walls were damp, streaked with black mold. One by one, they stepped inside, the door groaning shut behind them. The deeper they went, the quieter the world above became. The cheers and music faded until only their footsteps echoed. Emily whispered, "Why does it feel colder down here?" No one answered. Halfway down, the lights overhead flickered, ancient bulbs buzzing weakly, casting shadows that stretched and twisted unnaturally. At the bottom, they reached another door. This one wasn't metal but wood, warped and swollen from years of moisture. Carved into it, in jagged letters, were 3 words. Do not enter. Jake grinned at the camera. Perfect. He shoved the door open. The smell hit them first. Thick, choking, metallic like rust. Or blood. The room stretched wide, lined with broken gym equipment. Old bleachers, rusted weights, deflated basketballs. But the strangest thing was the floor. Dozens of chalk outlines covered the concrete. Human shapes, some small like children. Lily's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God! Marcus laughed nervously. Probably just a prank. Old drama club or something. But Emily shook her head. No. These are real. Their flashlights flickered. And that's when they heard it. A ball bouncing. Thump, thump, thump. The sound echoed, though no one was holding a ball. Then, out of the shadows, a figure appeared. A boy, maybe 15. His skin was gray, his eyes hollow, and he clutched a deflated basketball. He dribbled once, twice. The ball made no sound when it hit the floor. The friends froze. The boy's head snapped toward them. His jaw unhinged far too wide, stretching downward until it cracked. From the darkness behind him, more figures emerged. Students in torn jerseys, faces sunken, eyes glowing faintly. The team that never left. Jake screamed, dropping his phone. "Run!" Marcus shouted. They sprinted across the basement, dodging rusted equipment, their flashlights swinging wildly. The shadows moved with them, filling the corners, slamming lockers shut as if guiding them deeper instead of back to the stairs. Emily grabbed Jake's arm. "The way out! It's gone!" She was right. The staircase had vanished, replaced by a wall of cracked concrete. Behind them, the ghostly team closed in. The friends ducked through another door, slamming it behind them. They collapsed, gasping for breath. It looked like an old locker room, long abandoned. The metal lockers were rusted shut, mirrors cracked, sinks coated in grime. Lily whispered, "What do we do?" Before anyone could answer, a locker door rattled. Then another. Then all of them banged violently, shaking the walls. From inside, something pounded to get out. Emily screamed as one locker burst open. A skeletal hand shot out, grabbing at her hair. She ripped free, stumbling backward. The other lockers began bursting one by one, skeletal figures crawling out, teeth clicking, eyes burning with hatred. The friends ran again, their lungs burning, until they reached the center of the basement. A basketball court, underground, wood warped and cracked, the hoop bent, nets shredded, and written across the floor in red paint. No, in blood were the words, "Play or stay." The ghostly team surrounded them, circling like predators. The boy with the broken jaw tossed the ball into Jake's hands. His voice rasped like wind through broken glass. "Your turn." Jake dropped the ball and bolted, but the figures swarmed him, pulling him to the ground. His screams were muffled as they dragged him into the darkness, leaving nothing but silence. Emily, Marcus, and Lily huddled together, shaking. "We have to keep playing," Marcus whispered. "That's what it wants." He picked up the ball, dribbled once, twice. The figures stilled, watching. But when he missed the shot, the shadows rushed forward. Emily and Lily turned to run, but the basement shifted again. The walls stretched, the doors vanished. The only way out was gone. The last thing Emily saw before the lights blew out completely was Marcus's face, twisted in terror, swallowed by the dark. The next morning, the janitor found the gym spotless, the basement door sealed tight with a brand new lock. No one spoke of the missing students. Within days, teachers acted as if they had never existed. Their names faded from rosters, their photos vanished from yearbooks. But on quiet nights, when the gym is empty, the sound of a basketball still echoes from beneath the floor. Thump, thump, thump. And if you stand too close to the basement door, you'll hear voices calling, begging for someone to let them out. But no one ever does. Because once you step onto that court, the only way to leave is to win the game. And no one ever wins.